Have you ever stopped in the middle of an airport security line, shoes in hand, socks on the cold floor, and asked yourself, why on earth does the TSA really make us take off our shoes? Most travelers just accept it as one of those airport annoyances, but hidden behind this rule lies a story so layered, so strangely complex, that it reveals more about aviation security, global psychology, and even government strategy than most people could imagine. Because while the official narrative always circles back to the infamous 2001 shoe bomber incident with Richard Reed, the real reasons dig far deeper into a world where perception matters as much as protection, where a single visible ritual, like removing shoes, conditions millions of travelers to psychologically surrender control and comply without resistance, reinforcing the idea that security is omnipresent and unavoidable. But here's where it gets even stranger. When experts behind the scenes were interviewed years later, some admitted that the shoe removal policy wasn't universally considered the most effective detection method, since explosive detection scanners could, in theory, identify threats without everyone standing barefoot. Yet the decision to keep the rule in place became less about direct danger and more about building a security theater, a term security professionals quietly use to describe actions designed to make passengers feel safe. Even if the action itself isn't the strongest line of defense, this is where the story takes a chilling twist. Psychologists working with Homeland Security suggested that forcing passengers to perform a vulnerable act, like removing shoes, wasn't just about finding threats, but about triggering a subconscious state of obedience. Because when millions of people perform the same ritual at every airport, it imprints the message that you are under surveillance, that rules are absolute, and that compliance is not optional. Travelers rarely notice how powerful this conditioning becomes, but behavioral studies reveal that once a person complies with one small but uncomfortable rule, they are more likely to comply with larger, more invasive measures later: scans, searches, pat-downs, without protest, essentially training citizens to accept inconvenience in exchange for the illusion of safety. And if you think this is only an American oddity, think again. Because while the US spearheaded the shoe policy, other countries selectively copied it. Not always because they feared shoes, but because they understood the psychological ripple effect it had on travelers. A constant reminder that invisible dangers lurk everywhere, and that security is always a step ahead. In fact, leaked documents years later suggested that even within TSA leadership, there was debate over whether the shoe rule had outlived its usefulness. But they concluded that rolling it back might cause passengers to lose trust in the system, as if admitting that one highly visible layer of security was unnecessary would unravel confidence in all the others, proving that sometimes the ritual itself matters more than its actual utility. But the hidden angle most travelers don't realize is that this rule also became a data-gathering tool. Every time passengers funnel through barefoot, officers can observe movement, hesitation, and even behavioral cues that might not appear in a casual walkthrough, effectively turning a shoe line into a low-tech screening mechanism for stress or nervousness that advanced machines can't fully replicate. Some insiders even hint that biometric surveillance quietly piggybacks on these rituals, capturing posture and gait analysis data for databases that map behavioral anomalies in crowds. And here's the eerie part. Security experts openly admit that if a real terrorist wanted to bypass shoe checks today, they wouldn't even use shoes, meaning the act itself has transformed into a symbolic gesture, a kind of modern ritual that keeps the public in rhythm with the government's watchful eye. And yet, when you stand there barefoot on a cold tile floor, you're unknowingly participating in one of the most brilliant, controversial, and misunderstood social experiments of the 21st century, where safety, fear, compliance, and control intersect in a way no traveler ever fully consented to, which leaves us with one haunting question as you slip your shoes back on before heading to your gate. If the shoe rule is less about protection and more about perception, then what other airport rituals are quietly shaping the way we think, behave, and surrender our freedoms without even realizing it?